Want more positivity in your life? Subscribe, turn on notifications, follow us, and all that techie stuff. We'd love to hear from you. Comment, share, or give us a thumbs up. We are grateful to have you hanging out with us at Matt Logan Speaks.
What do you think about, it made me think of, well, I like social media use in the sense that, people can be real. And I think that's how people connect, is that relational aspect. Like, cool, like sometimes I do post these funny pictures of what my kids did today, and it was like, oh man, I have been there. It's not to get sympathy. It's not, to share anything else. I'm like, okay, to the mom that has her day 3 dry shampoo in her hair and literally just screamed at her kids and then went and had a bowl of ice cream in her laundry room, right? Like, I get it, man. Yep. I've been there, and I think it's good to have that. But then I also think there's this new glorified problem-seeking attention type mindset. I mean, have you seen that with like social media, like at all? I've had, some series of things that have happened over the last 2 years. People like, I'm going to go cut myself, or I have been doing this or whatever in, my daughter's like middle school group. And you're like, these have to be taken seriously, but is this a thing now? Is it a cry for help? How do you suggest, like handling things like that? What do you think that is?
Well, I do believe it is a cry for help. And I think that the internet feeds you what your interests are. So
Marketing
if you
people.
are, yes. If
it's
you
true, though. It's
are
true.
a Republican or a Democrat, if you're into fashion or art or certain music, it's not going to just feed me a country song.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
going to keep feeding me. So maybe one of these middle schoolers clicked on an article that talked about cutting or talked about depression.
Sure.
So now more and more are coming through, and they've all shared this, and their friends. You talk about something, all of a sudden it's on your Facebook feed.
Yeah.
It's weird. Your phone is listening. I believe it.
Right.
I don't know if the rest of the world.
There's so many of those connections that I don't think people, realize that it perpetuates their own narrative, whatever that
Absolutely.
might be.
Positive or negative, it's going to bring you down that rabbit hole.
It was funny because I remember somebody saying recently, obviously we're in an election year, and that goes without saying that there's media craziness, but I'm like, I feel like my feed's pretty positive, and then I'm like, well, that's because I look at positive things. I look for positive things, and I, scroll past negativity or what have you. And
Snooze
I think,
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
It does make a difference. I was watching The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yes.
And just thinking through, like how this culture has been overspun into kind of this media-controlled environment.
We are the product.
If you're not buying a product, you are the product.
Yep.
That's what he says in that video, and it's so compelling because, people, whether you use Facebook or some other tool, whatever it is, Google search, right? It
Right.
all counts. You're getting fed more of the same narrative in whatever that belief system is. How do you think that makes mental health worse?
We don't 100% know what those effects are. We are in a whole new era of social media, and I don't know. Because, the internet is the pandemic.
The World Wide Web.
The internet was built for a pandemic. I can hop on a Zoom if I can't see you.
Yeah.
It's great. We can stay connected while we're disconnected. There are a lot of positives in there.
It could be. One thing that Matt said one time that I love and was just talking about tools, right? Like a hammer can be used to build things or break things.
Yep.
And simply put, the same conversation was with my daughter in social media. I'm like, yes, well, I do think that it has positives. There's also a lot of negatives. And depending on its use case and responsibility with that, that's where it goes,
Well, and each individual is responsible for that. Like you just said, my feed is full of positivity. I've had plenty of negativity in my life. I'm done with it.
Right.
But when you're sad and depressed and you want to be sad and depressed, what do you do after a breakup? You go to your 90s music. You put a CD on.
You go get the notebook, and then you just be like, every relationship
you
is
listen
terrible.
to all the sads so that you can get those sads out. You want to
And feel
have
justified, don't you think? Like,
absolutely.
They want to feel like they're justified in their anger or
and they
pain
are,
or what have you.
But you have to be able to bring yourself out of it.
Yeah.
If if you can't bring yourself out of it.
So what kind of the tools do you think? I mean, it sounds like we acknowledge that there's all of this like pool of things that create, all, besides the pandemic itself. But, and then, there's that end result once they've already decided, like, what happens in the middle? What do we need more of to, like, okay, understand that there's the ups and downs of life and we can move past that, without getting to the bottom of the barrel and we can't get out of it.
I don't have a solid answer for you.
Anything that you've seen out there that, like people feel, okay, this has helped me move forward or gotten me out of that place?
Well, I think people need people, and unfortunately, people let you down. Mm-hmm. I mean, have you had a bad breakup and the world's going to end? Mm-hmm. Tears, do. You meet somebody new 3 months later. Wow, my life is so much better now.
Right.
But it starts with you and self-care. And there's life coaching and there's therapy and there's feeding yourself positivity, but you have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to do it for you.
Right.
And I know this sounds terrible, but like the more faith I put into other people to help me with things, the more I'm let down.
I think that's so true and such a point that people have to remember, because while I do think that there are people that support you and lift you up and are crucial in keeping within your network, you have to have a solid self-reliance first, because most people are upset because somebody didn't meet their expectation, and often the expectation's not communicated, but it's also the data shows obviously people aren't perfect, and it's not going to be to that expectation all the time.
But at the end of the day, you have you, so make sure you and your alone thoughts
what do you
positive.
do to like steer things like that in the right direction? Like, have you ever like gotten to a point where you've just like written down the bad? I'm always curious of like how that like manifests, in getting things out.
You're supposed to do that, and I've done that a couple times, and it's never really worked well for me.
You keep writing.
Write a bunch of sad. Yeah, then it's like pages and I just throw it away. Yeah. Like I was in a place that day. Other people go back and reflect and look at it and add their positive things and do that. Little things we do in our family is, we're complainers by nature. So I'm like, what are your 3 happies for the day?
Sure.
And they have to be good. They can be small things.
I got to eat.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, but did you get that super awesome bowl of ice cream or, something fantastic that you love? Or was it, yes, nourishment is great. Yes, we need to eat. But it's really not that exciting unless it's something really fun. And that's okay.
Yeah. I feel like, rituals, and I hear this a lot with different people, and especially people that are able to move forward and pull other people out of the rut too, is like they have some consistent rituals that they do to like keep themselves on track. And I can't remember who said it, and I'll think of it after this, but it's like a shower, right? I think it was a Tony Robbins quote if I'm thinking about it right, but it's like you don't just have motivation. Like you have to make a choice to shower and make that a consistent part of your day. You don't just like, I'm just going to show up clean today. Like it has to be part of an action plan. And one of the things that, during this pandemic and however the next few months goes, like it has to keep starting with us intentionally. Like I think people suffer from anxiety, depression inherently and, through, bloodlines or what have you. That's absolutely real. But is there anything that, we can do to like keep cultivating habits of change within people and, helping others to do the same while we're all going through this? I feel like people have been a little less resistant over the past couple months.
I have mixed emotions about that. There's a couple different things. There's the people that are at home working from home during this pandemic, and as we were kind of talking, not showering, not taking care of themselves, not eating properly, probably drinking too much, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a positive side of doing things on your own terms. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to get up at 11:30 instead of 5:30 because I loathe my alarm clock that I want to throw across the room every day that starts your day, and you snooze it for, I'm a triple snoozer, okay?
Oh, God. I have 3 alarms.
Well, mine's across the room, so I have to get up each time. It's ridiculous anyway. So they're finding that people are happier and more productive in certain circumstances.
Sure.
You know, you're at home with your pets. What could be more awesome than that?
Yeah.
You know, so there's a few
you
different
think it's
things.
because the expectation changes?
But people are working just as hard, if not harder. There's other people like myself. I worked from home for a month. I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, get up, open my laptop, okay, drag myself to the shower, not having that normalcy
I have
of
take
getting
a
up.
shower on my list some days.
Yep. Today's the day. We're going to take a shower bath.
We're doing this.
We're doing it. It's going to be great.
People are going to comment on my hair because it's actually done for the day. But yeah, I feel like the expectations of ourselves have changed a little bit too. And I feel like that's, you know, expectations on ourselves even have changed, right? Like people don't have the travel time that they used to. Or maybe they're not traveling as much, you know, if they're a constant traveler for work.
Traveling can be a good thing, though. I've
I
always
do miss
worked
it.
like 5 minutes from home.
Yeah.
So when you get home, your kids are like, hey, partner's like, hello, what's for dinner? I need things, stuff and things. And you're like, I haven't shed work yet. I have no idea what's going on here.
That's
so
me
if you
in 20
have that
minutes.
half-hour drive, you can put your tunes on, do whatever
Yeah.
you do in the car. By the time you get home, you're like, all right, mom's here. What's up? What are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
So some people are probably missing that quite a bit. And I think people that don't want to work from home, that are forced to work from home, need to find other arrangements.
Yeah.
Make their space their space. The incubator spaces, the co-working spaces are still available for a lot of people.
Oh, sure. That's a great
So
idea.
reach out to your co-working friends and see if they've got space available. Maybe we create new communities. Like you're working from home, I'm working from home. You folks are working from home. I've got a huge basement.
That's
what if
a
we
great
social
idea.
distance in my house for a week? Maybe we host up at your house for a week. We have ice cream Wednesdays. It'll be great. Or
I am
whatever.
so there.
You know, a lot of homeschooling moms.
That's been some new things that have popped up.
It's been kind of a movement, and they have their own awesome community of folks that they can reach out to.
Right.
You know, park days together. Different learning things, like you're really good at English, I'm really good at math.
Yeah.
You take my 2 kids, I'll take your 2 kids. So they work together as a family. So maybe
leveraged
that's
resources.
something is utilizing each other's resources to get through this time. I said,
Right.
I don't want to work from home.
Yeah.
But if I had like 3 other people, even in this space we had here, I would feel super comfortable.
That's a great idea.
I might not get anything done because I do talk a lot. Or you might not get anything done.
Well, and it's
but
so weird, like when, you know, for me, the 12 weeks of the first part of the pandemic was, I'm trying to work from home. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to help my kids with school. I'm trying not to lose my mind, you know. And then when the 12 weeks was up and like the school expectation was gone and my son was doing a summer program, then it was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to do. I didn't know how to deal with it because I've been so used to like juggling so many balls that when they took a couple of them away, I'm like, what, you just throw one and catch the other? Like, what is this? I don't know how that works, you know? But
do you think our employers need to have some different expectations for us? I feel like most employers expect the same under a totally different circumstance.
It's
kind of the first I've thought about it.
No,
Yeah.
I do think that, and I'll say 2 things. One, our employer has been fantastic, and if it wasn't for their flexibility and their adaptation and support around what's changing, how it's changing, there would be no way I could even function.
Right.
Period. And somebody else had mentioned something, the schools need to do this, the schools need to do this. I was like, our employers need to change. That they need to change their expectations too, because we're expecting teachers to change. We're expecting
Can't imagine.
these other rules to be enforced, yet we're not expecting or asking or considering what we need from our employers or making that known. And, you know, like I said, I'm speaking generically, but based on comments that I've seen, like, well, I can't do this and this isn't going to work because of this. I'm like, it's worth asking your boss if you can shift to a different schedule.
How can
it's
we
worth
make this work?
asking if you could change can I work hours in the morning and then, later? It's worth asking another mom, hey, can we switch for the day? Right? Like, I'll take your kids after this and whatever. It's worth looking into making the arrangements work. And I think employers had to shift one way or another, but some have been more adaptable than others. And I think others maybe need some ideas, right? Like if you're not saying anything, they're assuming everything's okay. They're assuming, work's still going to be getting done the same way unless there's reason to believe otherwise, right? Like I feel like it's on people that are changing their work position. If there's support needed somewhere, that should be made aware to someone.
Should be made aware, but does everyone have a voice at their
I don't know.
I think you and I are lucky that we have flexible, amazing employers that we're allowed to do our thing. What if you
But I
don't?
think they need to ask the question, how can this work? What do I need to make it work? And they do need to find some way to reach out to someone to make a change. Because if you keep complaining for however long you go on about your work and the space, it's going to continue to make you miserable. And that's an pandemic or not.
I was going to say that is kind of any time.
That's any time. But people expect everyone else to make the changes so that your life is easier, right? Like, we need to open the restaurants because of my need, not like an economic need or a safety need or whatever. Like, we have to think about all of the different things that are going on here and what makes the most sense and make some adaptions, right? Like the businesses that were like takeout food, I'm like, God, please don't ever let that change. I love that I can order the food and just go get it and not have to worry about it. So some things I think will come out of this better, but I think other people that refuse to change are the ones that are getting really stuck.
That's always been a thing. And I mean, nobody loves change.
Right.
But you have to be able to be willing to accept it or your life is going to suck.
Right.
There's just no other way around it because, again, back to the roller coaster. It changes every minute.
Right.
I'm at a murder house right now. I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
It's you don't really know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And, I think the more that we're aware of, we need to change. We need to, even to change our approach. To your point, talking back about reaching out to people. You used to bump into them. You used to walk by them at the water cooler. You used to, those things are not there anymore. And I think it's important. Obviously, we've seen increases in, abuse cases and, suicides and things like that. Like
women leaving the workforce, 1 in 4.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a crazy
And those
number.
are some big things that are, probably not given as much attention.
What's it going to look like
right
in
now.
2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't know enough
We
to
don't know.
make
We
a
don't
decision.
know.
But, that outlook is what's, so scary. And, things that I've seen, in those dark places for people, I know that some have come out and seen, okay, I did get through. They were absolutely convinced that there is no change. There is no turn. There is no light at the end of the tunnel, and gosh, the hope and prayer is just that people find those people before it gets to that point. And I think you can't do that if you don't reach out, if you don't make awareness. What kind of things have you guys changed? You did the Out of the Darkness walk for how many years now?
Well, that is coming up this Saturday. It's assumingly virtual.
Yeah.
Friday night is registration at Prairie Care. I think it's 3 to 7. So you can make a donation, pick up your T-shirts, register a teammate. We have colored beads that kind of say I lost a sibling, a husband, a child, a parent.
Yeah.
So you pick up your colored beads, and then it's well, good luck with walking on Saturday. Because, you're more than welcome to walk here, but other people aren't necessarily walking here. A lot of people are walking within their communities and walking within their own friend groups.
Do you think that could be an asset in some ways, that there's more visibility in the community? Or, what does that look like for these groups that are trying to make awareness happen, but don't get the same.
Depends on the size of
attention.
your community.
Yeah.
I have heard like the Casson community has a pretty big community of people coming together where a lot of your community members will see that. I
Sure.
don't know how many people live in Casson. I'm in Rochester. It's very different.
Yeah.
I would, just assuming it's about, on paper, probably 120, but probably really 150
Sure.
with transient and that kind of thing. And so as I walk around my neighborhood, are people going to notice it? You
Yeah.
know, in a bigger city, we kind of close our curtains.
Yeah, right,
too.
right.
I reached out to maybe 20 of my team members, and it doesn't really sound like we're getting together. It's kind of sad. Because I think Out of the Darkness does bring light to
Right.
kind of what's going on. I think our last couple years have been about 700 people.
Wow, that's
And it
awesome.
just really shows you how many people
Are affected
had
by that.
some sort of tragedy within their work group, friend group, family.
Yeah.
So I hope people get together, and I hope they find the support through this in whatever virtual way they can.
Right.
I'm really not sure what to think about it right now. I was, like I said, a little saddened that my group didn't want to get together. But a few of them were like, I'm going to walk with my family in my neighborhood.
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Whether they have shirts on, at least they can recognize and hopefully talk to their kids about it. You know, we're walking. In the past, we have walked for Friends of Flip
Sure.
at Out of the Darkness with a bigger group. But
Yeah.
we're going to walk together. But those are uncomfortable conversations and need to be age appropriate.
Yeah.
Because there's some hard verbiage to understand in there. I'm
For
not
sure.
necessarily the best at explaining it to little people, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and everyone navigates those conversations differently. You know, my hope is that people have more of them.
Yep.
You know, talking about, you know, not even, again, all the way to the suicide spectrum, but even just like navigating your own feelings and emotions. Because I feel like what we miss sometimes, and what my biggest fear is that we aren't helping our kids navigate during that, you know, when they feel those emotions, so that, you know, they're already being isolated. They're already not getting that camaraderie with their classmates in the same way.
Absolutely.
How can we encourage them to, you know, reach out to their friend, or, you know, things like that, that what can we do to keep that process moving?
Well, I think what happens, and you know, there's a walk for everything.
Yeah.
Right? So your dad passes away of diabetes. Well, now our family, we talk about
Yeah.
diabetes when we're, you know, into these diabetes walks. Or, you know, we lost our sister to breast cancer. So now we're really involved in breast cancer, and we talk about it, and this is why why we lost them. So it seems like until you have that loss, if we're talking about suicide, that's when those topics are going to come up. That's when
Sure.
the questions are going to come up for your kids. Not that, you know, heart disease and all these things aren't a huge part of our lives. There's just so much discomfort that comes with the conversation of
Yeah.
suicide.
Why is it uncomfortable, do you think?
I think it's been something that's been shamed for so long. In religion, it's shameful. You know, you're going to hell if you take your own life, and I think that's completely untrue. You go where you go. There's been a new, you know, we have to have a new way of saying things, so it's no longer okay to say you've committed suicide.
Sure.
It's you've passed of suicide. Well, committing suicide is the biggest commitment you can make. I have no problem hearing people say that.
Sure.
But again, people just don't want to talk about it. And there are so many unanswered questions. If you lose somebody to breast cancer, you know they lost a horrible battle.
Yeah.
But if you lose somebody unexpected to suicide, how do I explain?
Yeah.
Well, they suffered from depression. Depression from what? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't know what's going through their head, even if they leave a
Exactly.
note or a, you know, playlist or whatever it is. You just don't really know what
Right.
brought them to that edge.
Yeah.
And when you lose somebody to suicide, there's so many unanswered questions, and there's so much guilt.
Yeah.
Like it's just really a tough. It's tough for everyone who's left,
Right.
you
I mean,
know,
we want a reason for everything.
I mean,
And that's hard to just
we
leave
do.
so many open-ended questions.
Yep. When you go to these
side.
walks, you meet these strangers, and they're your community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, each person there is going through what you've been
Right.
through and having
Yeah.
the same unanswered questions and that same guilt. And it's very uncomfortably comforting.
That makes perfect sense, you know.
I stayed away from it after, well, I know I've told you my husband committed suicide in 2011, and I didn't want anything to do with grief or counseling or these walks or whatever. So I probably have only been involved for the past 4 to 5 years.
Sure.
And I think it's wonderful now, but I, like I said, totally shied away from it. I didn't want to deal with the people. I cry the whole time, every time.
Yeah.
It's a thing, and it's fine. Everyone else is there too.
Right.
But,
that's
you
yours
know.
to own, you know, and
But if I can hug someone there and cry with them and ease
Yeah.
their pain, worth it.
And I think that's, you know, like a good way to remember like where we're at, what people are struggling with. Like we're made to be relational. That is what humans are made for.
Agreed.
And while the circumstances have changed in which we are allowed to do so, the need for it hasn't. The opportunity for it has changed a little bit, but it's still there. And, you know, while we can't fix everyone or everything, you know, like there's no reason to even put that expectation out there
Right.
other than remember to reach out to someone. Remember that, you know, sometimes people are struggling and you have no idea, so you don't need to wait for an opportunity for someone to be upset. Like asking those questions like, hey, how are you doing? Hey, is there anything I can help you with?
I'm great. I would
You know?
say, but how are you really doing?
Yeah.
And a lot of times for other people, I'll say, take me out for 2 beers and I'll tell you how I'm really
And that's
doing.
part of that couple other questions thing though,
Yep.
right? Like your automated response is that I'm fine.
Fine. Everything's fine.
Exactly. You know, when you kind of get into it, you know, a little bit, you know, like when you ask your kid if their, you know, homework was done or
Of
what
course
happened
it's
at
done.
school today. Yeah. Oh, so your math homework was done? Oh, you know, it's like those, you ask a couple questions and that triggers, I think, something new for people that said, oh, this person might actually have a vested interest in me and not just a casual, like, automated response.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's so important for people just to, like, think about that reach out.
Tell me
And-
how you really feel.
Yeah.
And
And it's okay. I
and
really want to
hope
know how that
I
really
want to
feels.
know,
Yeah.
and I hope to make people comfortable enough that they know they can tell me how they really feel.
Yeah. I love that.
There's a lot of people that don't want to know how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to say, I'm good, great, all right, see you
Yeah.
later, bye.
Yeah. No, that's so
But
true.
I want people to know that I really want to know how you're feeling.
That's
Call me anytime.
Perfect way to like kind of wrap this up is, you know, that there are people that really want to know and there are people that really want to care and help and move people alongside them because everyone's struggling and everyone's got their own hard and we just need to be open to sharing what that hard
Yes.
is in order to get help with it.
Yep.
That's perfect. So how can they get a hold of you if they want to get in contact with you and tell them how you're really feeling? They're really feeling.
You want to tell me how you really
Yeah,
feel.
if you want to tell her how you really feel.
I will admittedly not answer my cell phone for a call that I don't know.
Gonna
But if
screen
you
it.
leave me a message, I will call you back, and that is 507-226-7526. You can email me at jessicap@minnwestbankgroup.com. I know it's very long. That's jessicap@minnwestgroup.com. And I have that with me all the time. And I stay connected. Facebook, Jes Peterson. Feel free to private message me on there. Sometimes they're a little weird about coming through if
Yeah.
we're not friends. Feel free to friend me. Get a hold of Beth. She'll get a hold of me. We'll work something out.
We got the circle connection.
There's always a way to connect.
Yeah.
And I'm totally into connecting with whoever needs me at almost any time.
I love that. You've been such an awesome friend since I've known you, and I love that we've got connected and hoping you can connect with other people as well. So
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.